like, are there a few that kind of take over the whole, just large budget?
So we run a mentor program, and there's always new firms coming in to go through this mentor program. And then once they get through the mentor program and graduate as graduate mentors, then they can actually, they fall into our categories of firms that can actually apply for SCA projects. And they go ahead, after they graduate, they can go ahead and start applying for SCA projects, as well as compete with the existing firms that are already in that pot.
Thank you. I wanted to share that with our audience. Thanks.
Any other council members have any questions?
Can you go back to the slide that shows the additional capacity for 22 through 27?
Sorry. We're here. It's about this one?
Yes, that one. I wanted to understand when the last time that these capacity needs were evaluated for these specific geography and type of schools, if you have that information, because District 2 has been consistently losing students since the beginning of the pandemic. And it would be helpful to understand where the overcrowding or need is for these additional seats in terms of the last time that this was evaluated.
Sure. So we evaluate it on an annual basis. Right now, in this current proposed plan, we are looking at capacity. We're focused on a capacity for meeting compliance with the new class size law. So the funding that we have for this current project is to work on complying with that new law. It's my understanding that DOE will comply with that law for the first 2 years. So right now, this proposed plan is a down payment on meeting those requirements. And each year we will reevaluate those needs as well. Every year there's an evaluation of needs in each district. I don't believe at this current state that there is a seat need in D2. So once the next year rolls around, we should probably have more updates for you. But this is our most recent assessment.
Any other questions? I did just want to remind council members, as well as members of the public, that another source of funding separate from the SCA for projects that often are quite similar to these type of projects, maybe not on the scale such as redoing windows, for example, but is participatory budgeting, which is what a number of council members in our district have. It's a mechanism whereby the council member has a process where people vote, the constituents vote on specific items, and we usually have a number of school-related items that each council member will have. And schools have gotten security cameras, water fountains, redone floors, for example. So there's been a significant number of projects that have come through participatory budgeting. So I would just remind council members that that is also a source of potential funding for these types of projects as well. If that's it, could we turn the projector off? I feel like I'm being interrogated. Thank you. Oh, wow. So thank you for that presentation. We look forward to working with you, and we will get you our requests as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the first public speakers session. I would remind you that this is only for in-person participants. There are sign-up sheets for both the first and second public speaking sessions. They're on top of that piano. If you're interested in speaking, please make sure that your name is written down. If you could kindly identify, you don't have to, but it'd be helpful if you want to identify yourself and your connection with District 2. That would be great. Speakers are going to be limited to 2 minutes, as I discussed before. Please try to keep your comments to under 2 minutes, and please try to be respectful, avoid personal attacks, things along those lines. And I would also just add that we will If you do go over 2 minutes, we will reel you in at some point and cut you off. So please expect that. And then finally, this is not a question and answer session. So if you do have any comments, don't expect any of the council members or Superintendent McGuire or anyone else that you may be directing questions towards to answer them directly. So with that being said, I'm going to ask our recording secretary to go through the list of people who've signed up.
Yep. Thank you. And council members, Sarah is going to do the timer. She'll give you a little bit of a warning before the 2 minutes are up. So I'm going to call three at a time just so you're prepared. The first three are Al Suhu, Rebecca Garte, and Kate Wheeler.
So my connection to District 2, I don't have any kids in District 2. Many decades ago, I went to specialized high school in District 2. That's my only connection. All right, so I'm here tonight to speak up on the resolution opposing mayoral control. I read through it, and I think there's some issues with it. There's a statement about parents and taxpayers. I don't know why taxpayers are mentioned there, being disenfranchised with the mayoral control and how schools are governed. How do you quantify that? I mean, how many parents are actually opposed to mayoral control? I could walk into my school, talk to 100 random parents. Not one is going to say, hey, I don't like mayoral control. You talk to 1,000 parents, probably the same thing. So how do you quantify this? Maybe you can come up with what? 1,000 people citywide? 1,000 out of what? 900,000? That's 0.1%. That doesn't mean anything. I don't understand why, how you can justify opposing mayoral control. And then the other statement about you want more democratic representation on the school board. That can be a double-edged sword, because if you open up the board for elections, it's going to be influenced a lot by special interests. And the special interests, if you've seen the mayoral control hearings, they show up there and they have they speak up all the time. They're all special interests. They do not represent the average parent, okay? They do not represent typical parents that you see in schools. Now, hypothetically, if you open up for democratic elections, anyone can influence those elections, including, say, hedge fund moguls. Some of them who are maybe on the boards of charter schools, who knows? Anything can happen. So it's a
back it up.
So be very careful about what you're asking for. What works now? Mayor control is not perfect the way it works in New York City, but it can be improved.
Thank you, Al.
That resolution that follows, I think, is a good idea.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your comments. Rebecca Garte.
Hi, I'm speaking today on behalf of many families at the Ella Baker School, as well as many other families throughout all of District 2 and other districts within New York City. I'm speaking about the fact that there are two current serving members on CEC Council who will be invited speakers tomorrow at a Moms for Liberty rally or town hall. This has been raised as threatening, upsetting, and problematic for many reasons, one of which that Moms for Liberty is known to be an extremist group as designated by the Southern Poverty Law Center. It is also a group that has espoused rhetoric that directly targets students, families, and teachers who identify as trans, who identify as non-binary in their gender expression, people who are interested in addressing race and racism and culture and diversity and inclusiveness in classrooms. All of those people have been the targets of this group. Using the formal designation of CEC council member in attendance at such a meeting is in violation of DOE policy. It also creates a very threatening and hostile environment for any children, families, teachers, and others who feel that they are existing in an environment where people who are directly hostile towards them are serving in a position of power and are supposedly representing them, while at the same time targeting them with vile rhetoric. The second thing I wanted to speak to is the District 2 geographic priority resolution. I feel that most of the rationales for that resolution are disingenuous. If the
You
issue
could wrap
is
up your
travel
comments.
time, then it should be borough-wide. District 2 residents is really just a proxy for wealth, and it's really just a way of wealth hoarding. But I want to say regarding
Thank you for
tomorrow's
your
meeting,
comments.
I strongly ask and urge that those council members do not attend, and if they do, that they are
Thank you for
sanctioned
your
by the
comments.
DOE.
The next speaker is Kate Wheeler. Senator, you're up next. Senator Hoyman, you're up next.
Hi, can you hear me? I mostly just want to say thank you to Gavin and the Students with Disabilities Committee. We had an amazing call last week, and it was really, since I've become an advocate for my child who has dyslexia in D2, it really was one of the highlights of my interaction with you all. And I walked away with moms emailing me and offering me advice as she goes through high school and middle school. I'm providing advice to people that found me through that meeting and support. And it really was like a boots on the ground experience that you all facilitated, Gavin and Sarah. So thank you. And it makes me just really want to emphasize to you all that you do. While the policy stuff is important, certainly the cultural issues right now are very important to debate to protect our kids. But there is a whole other realm of stuff that I think gets lost in this council a lot, which is how is it directly impacting kids right now? A lot of the policy debates aren't going to help my kid. Even some of the construction stuff, that's awesome. That's not necessarily going to help kids that need help now. What happened last Thursday on the call helped my daughter immediately. Kelly listened to her. He had a dialogue with her, and she walked away feeling more confident than ever. And it's been hard to stay in the public school system, but we're committed to it. And so I thank you all. And I hope that you will strive to continue to do stuff like that, not just for dyslexia advocacy, but advocacy for all kids. Think about all the moms and dads in D2 and what an untapped resource I feel like we have. You guys have the ability to organize and reach them. It happened last Thursday, even if it's just 20 people at a time.
If you can conclude your comments, thank you.
You have the power to affect kids' lives, and you should be doing more of it.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Senator Hoyleman, and after him, I don't see Assemblymember Epstein. He signed up, so if he's not here, I don't think I see him. Then it'll be Robin Jackie after. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having the State Senator Brad Hoyleman Siegel represent the west side of Manhattan from Christopher Street up to West 103rd. I wanted to come in person in part because of a news story that ran in December regarding CECD2 members who were exchanging disparaging remarks about transgender children and me, but mostly let me just focus on the kids. The comments, if you read them, were incredibly cruel and heartless and shocking, to say the least. And I have to say that as we discuss mayoral control in Albany, one thing that will be top of mind is the credibility and the representation of our CECs. And I would urge this CEC to fully investigate that exchange of disparaging comments and take appropriate action. The second thing I want to say is in connection with the Moms for Liberty event, which is tomorrow evening. Moms for Liberty, as was said, is a well-known, notorious, hate-filled group that targets transgender children and DEI curriculum, as well as gender supportive care for trans kids. Today in Albany, I just passed legislation that's going to provide physicians with additional information on intersex children. We, in this legislative session that just passed, legislation that will make New York State a safe haven for transgender children, meaning if you're from another state and you or your parents or your physician are concerned about laws that restrict gender affirming care, you can come to New York and receive that care without fear of prosecution. That should be the model, not Moms for Liberty. and I would encourage CEC2 to fully represent the diversity and inclusion that is our amazing district here in New York City, and makes it clear that you object and abhor the message that we are bound to be hearing tomorrow on the east side from Moms for Liberty. So thank you very much. Thank you for your service. We're going to keep fighting for transgender children in New York State and in New York City, notwithstanding some of the hateful comments that I've read, and unfortunately come from some of your members or former members. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Hoylman and Segal. I don't see Assembly Member Epstein. I don't think he's here anymore. So then Robin Jaffe. And after that, Sumida. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Robin Jaffe. I'm a seventh grader in middle school here in District 2. And I wasn't quite prepared to say anything because quite frankly, I have a lot of questions. But in response to some of the comments for people who don't believe that there should be District 2 priority high schools, for somebody who is not in a higher economic level, for somebody who would need to leave the city if my child does not get into her top 12 schools, I encourage the CEC and anybody else who is involved with helping to make this resolution happen, please do so. We have a large contingent of parents at our middle school who are ready to send whatever we need to the right people. We just need to know who that is and perhaps some help with wordsmithing the proper emails to make sure that we are getting it to the right people so that the right decision is made. Thank you.
Thank you. Sumitra? I think that's walking in now. And then the next person is going to be Kalani Jenkins.
Hello, I actually had a question about the SCA and I spoke to Joshua and I think we are on a path to a resolution, or at least he's going to look into it. So that addresses my question. The other thing is I wanted to continue to follow up with Mr. Superintendent Kilberwire about the lower lab expansion. As 5th to 8th, 6th standard to 8th standard, we don't have a path to it right now. So I'm hoping that this year, following year, we can come up with a path of having a middle school extends the lower lab middle school to the middle school level as well, GNT. Also, expanding the GNT program. Right now, GNT is for 3 and 4. So this is a great opportunity. There's no exam, there is no tests right now. To add more GNT schools like PS11, PS, especially in the Bronx, we could add 1 or 2 schools. I mean, if there's any plan, any thought process, that would help get the diversity up there to the diversity as well. So I think only having more schools, like we have only 6 right now, getting them to 12 would be even better. And right now, I don't see any obstacle to doing that because it's just basically on lottery basis, or it's just basically on recommendation basis. You have a 3 or a 4, and then you can get through the GNT program. So having more schools like that would actually be good right now. So that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. The next speaker is Kalani Jenkins, and then after Kalani, just to get you ready, is Salima El Amin.
Hello, my name is Kalani Jenkins. I'm a PTA and SLT member at PS51. I am speaking in support of Resolution 238 opposing mayoral control. For decades, New York City mayors have made abrupt, groundless, and poorly planned policy changes with little to no community input. Ultimately, policies like more metal detectors and police in schools or massive budget cuts harm our city's most vulnerable students and families. Other major cities like Chicago, Los Angeles, Detroit, and Oakland have recently moved away from mayoral control models of school governance. Policy changes by mayors can often feel like little more than an ego-driven grasp for legacy. For example, while I agree that we needed to get up to date on the science of reading and make changes to our reading and writing curriculums, the way this administration has made that happen has been abrupt, sloppy, and poorly planned. We still have many unanswered questions and little communication about the plan, and we are just 8 months out. New York City school system is the largest in the country with enormous socioeconomic and racial diversity. It is also one of the most segregated. It is unfathomable that amongst such diversity, there is so little binding community input and control of schools. I want youth, parents, educators, and communities to have a voice in school decision-making. Our students deserve to be insulated as much as possible from the whims of mayors that may change every 4 years, especially in these incredibly polarized times. I understand a transition to community school governance will not happen overnight, but a plan can be put in place for a transition that is inclusive, informed by the public, and will lead to an elected school board for NYCPS. Pressure from the bottom up is the right place to start. I would also like to express my support for Resolution 239, addressing air quality in schools. It's the least we can do to keep our students safe and healthy.
I just want to congratulate you because you did it exactly in 2 minutes, so perfect. The next speaker is Salima El-Amin, if I apologize if I mispronounced it, and then Jessica Harvey is next.
That was perfect pronunciation. I'll be very quick. I am in support of, I guess, Resolution 240, which would maintain mayoral control, although I think 239 having some sort of study is obviously a very good idea, but my experience and my family's experience during the pandemic, I was very surprisingly reassured that there was a strong executive who could, shepherd the ship through such a trying time. So, and also for parents and guardians who don't have the time to come to CEC meetings and make their voices heard, doing that through electing an official is their way of doing that. And so I don't know. So that's my feelings on that. And the geographical resolution for District 2, I think it's a very good idea. At least it should be reached parity with other districts that in terms of making sure the student, I'm sorry, and I'm a parent of a middle school student in District 2, that at least they would have one of their schools be, a selection. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. The next person is Jessica Harvey, and then Mia Anderson will be next. Welcome back.
Hi, I'm a longstanding member of the community and have been a teacher in District 2 for over 20 years. What do we stand for in District 2? Last month, I came and stood before you calling for members Daniela and Igorov and Maud Marin to resign from the CEC or be removed by the Chancellor. This month, as of yet, it seems there's been no action on this. It appears these CEC members have become further emboldened, using their official CEC titles in personal capacity as if to present approval by our District 2 CEC, which is against the Code of Ethics and Conduct. This is further evidence these members should be removed. What do we stand for in District 2? Of course, the CEC cannot prevent members from attending or speaking at public events, and as individuals, each has a right to their own opinion. However, when they present themselves as CEC members, especially if they are going to align themselves with extremist groups, such as those known for anti-LGBTQ rhetoric and book banning, it becomes problematic. What do we stand for in District 2? Official CEC titles were used in the promotion of tomorrow's Mom for Liberty event. The founder of Mom for Liberty referenced their representation of our district council in correspondence. Daniela also testified at a congressional hearing as the CECD2 vice president. She actually had the nerve to use her official CEC title in representing our district while testifying to Congress. And to clarify, she testified false information. D75 cuts had already been restored. The impact of students with disabilities budget and the migrant crisis funding are completely different budget lines. Is this what we stand for in District 2? Little by little, CEC members Maud and Daniela disenfranchise group after group of our most vulnerable students. This cannot be allowed to continue. I urge the public to rise up and put a stop to their
You could wrap up
callous,
your remarks.
unethical, and patently against code actions. Having sentiments privately is one thing, but for these ideologies to be presented as the seemingly official positions of a public body
Thank you.
created to represent students and
Thank
their
you for your
families
comment.
is quite frightening. What do we stand for
Thank you.
in District 2?
Thank you. The next speaker is Mia Anderson, and then after that will be Adriana Fink.
Hi all, I'm here as a graduate of New York City Public Schools to speak in support of queer students and against the right-wing takeover of our Community Education Council. Moms for Liberty, a designated extremist hate group, is hosting a town hall in Manhattan tomorrow night. Moms for Liberty does not care about parental choice and actively lies to the public about its goals. Upon hearing about this event, I wondered who they could possibly recruit to speak on their dishonest panel. My mind immediately went to Maud Marin. I hoped more than I believed that she would want to distance herself from a group that quotes Hitler, pushes draconian book bans, harasses students, parents, and teachers, and shares close ties with right-wing militia groups like the Proud Boys. I thought Maud would at least want to continue spreading her bigoted views in less obvious ways. For example, continuing to build up Place New York City, an organization she co-founded that explicitly fights to keep New York City schools racially segregated and is run by bigots who support book bans and spread transphobic hate. My hopes did not come to fruition. Tomorrow evening, CEC2 members Maud Marin and Charles Love are proudly participating in a panel hosted by an extremist hate group. Their fellow CEC2 member, Daniela Igorov, believes that diversity is an attack on merit and a form of soft bigotry, called the UFT diversity training poisonous, and absurdly accuses diversity training of destroying the country. Chancellor's Regulation 210 prohibits discrimination or harassment based on gender and other protected classes and states that after an investigation, the Chancellor may remove members if their conduct poses a danger to the safety or welfare of students. CEC2 members Maud, Charles, and Daniela pose a clear threat to New York City students. Our city and its schools are no place for hate. I call on them to step down, otherwise the Chancellor must remove.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. The next speaker is Adriana Vinnick, and then after that, Matoka will be next.
My name is Adriana Vink. I'm a proud queer woman and a proud graduate of New York City Public Schools. I'm here to speak out against the takeover of our school system by fascist bigots who pretend to care about kids and our education to push their political agenda. On December 20th, 2023, Chancellor David Banks criticized CEC2 members Maud Marin and Daniela Igorov for not acting as quote-unquote adults, saying he was prepared to take action because our children deserve better. The Chancellor's comments came after messages in a parent's WhatsApp were leaked in which Maud Marin said, quote, "There is no such thing as trans kids," and quote, "Some of these kids never develop adult genitalia and will never have full sexual function. It's an abomination." This is just a recent chapter of Maud's long and public history of transphobia. Maud has said that men will never be women, and if trans women are women, they would just be women, but they are men. Maud's denial of scientific facts goes beyond anti-trans hysteria. Maud falsely claimed to the New York Sun that the COVID-19 vaccine doesn't prevent infection or transmission, and as a result, the mandate is unjustifiable. And while Maud spreads anti-vax propaganda, I'll let you in on a little secret. Her and her family are vaccinated. Maud also told the Gotham Gazette, quote, "When people say, I'm nervous that integration is going to result in my kid getting a less good education, you have to take that concern as a valid concern, even if you think it's racist, and it may be." She's minimized the genocide of indigenous peoples, saying land acknowledgements don't teach anybody more math, and for the better part of human existence, we have stolen land from each other. Maud is also obsessed with the hoax that quote-unquote critical race theory is being taught in our schools. Maud Marin's own words make it clear that she is a virulently transphobic anti-science segregationist. Chancellor's Regulation D210 states that after an investigation, the Chancellor may remove or suspend members if conduct poses a danger to the safety or welfare of students or is contrary to the best interest of the district. Allowing Maud and people like her to make
You could
decisions that
conclude your
affect
remarks,
New York
please.
City public school students is dangerous. Students of color deserve to be represented by policymakers who don't believe they inherently lower the quality of the schools at which they learn simply with their presence. And LGBTQ+ students like me deserve to be represented by policymakers who believe that they are real. Like Chancellor Banks said, our children deserve better. Maud Merritt and her allies,
Thank you for your
Daniela Egorov
comments.
and Charles Love, must either resign or be removed.
Thank you for your comments. Matoko, and then the next person after that would be Erica Billick. Welcome back.
I am in support of resolution 241.
Try to speak a little bit louder, sorry, closer to the mic.
Current high school admission policy is dramatically and unproportionally making D2 students disadvantaged. I want to note that DIA, diversity in admission, while started with good intention, is actually hurting many students in need. DOE's diversity in admission website lists 44 schools that participate in DIA citywide. Out of 44 schools, 25, more than half, are in Manhattan, while number of the students in Manhattan are roughly only 1/10 of the total citywide students. Out of that 44 schools, 14 schools, or over 30%, are in District 2, while our district has only 3% of the citywide students. Most of the schools set aside 70% of seats to students that qualify for free lunch or reduced lunch. To qualify, a family's combined income has to be below $55,000. DOE statistics show that citywide, 60% of all high school applicants are unmatched to any of the 12 schools of their choice. 11% is unmatched citywide who are not eligible for free or reduced lunch. Overall, District 2 students are 13% unmatched. DOE hasn't published the data, but if we apply the result difference of citywide, then we could say that 18% of D2 students, even last year, almost 1 in 5 students in District 2 whose family income is just over $55,000.
Start wrapping up.
Or who are actually paying taxes unmatched. If you ignore this drastic unfairness, more and more people will leave the public school or the city of New York.
If you can conclude your remarks, please.
We need to bring back the realistic policy and the inclusive policy in high school admission.
Thank you for your comments. The next is Erica Billick, and then Lara, I guess, from the City Controller's Office. Okay.
Hi, I'm Erica Billick, and I have 2 children in District 2. And my youngest one is currently at the dual language French pre-K center, which my daughter also went to. And these are just like amazing classes with such diverse families and cultures from all over the globe. And it's an amazing resource and asset to District 2. And I have been waiting for the continuation of the dual language French program for kindergarten and up for several years now. And I don't really understand what the problem is, because I can promise you there are so many families that would be drawn to these programs. If you're looking for more students to come to the classes, to the schools, this is the way to do it. There's no reason why people have to move to District 3 or Brooklyn to find French education. This is not like a white elitist agenda. This is all these African families who are the majority of French speakers. These are, Indian and Southeast Asian. This French is spoken all around the globe. So it's, part of something that we all grew up with in our homes, and it really is enriching to everyone in the community. I would just like to keep it at the forefront of the conversation, because
because I really do think that it's going to be a draw for enrollment in District 2.
Thank you so much for your comments. The next speaker is Lara from our City Controller's Office, Brad Lander's office. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Tonight, I am here to speak on behalf of New York City Comptroller Brad Lander, who has spent his entire career in public service championing more equitable, inclusive schools and a more equitable, inclusive city. But I want to start with something personal to me in the hopes that it illuminates the ways in which intolerance can fester and grow here in District 2, in our city, and everywhere that freedom and choice is subverted in the name of hate if we let it. I did not have the benefit of growing up in a place like New York City, although my parents were native Brooklynites whose families came here to escape the pogroms of Eastern Europe at the beginning of the 20th century. I grew up in the Deep South, in Georgia, in the 1970s and 80s. My high school was forcibly integrated by court orders, busing put in place to help ensure that Black students had the same high-quality education as white students in the district. And yet intolerance was still quite alive at the public schools I attended. I was asked by a middle school classmate examining my hairline if it was really true that Jews have horns. I was told by a friend that she could not attend my bat mitzvah because her parents would not allow her to set foot inside a sacrilegious synagogue. I was forced and shamed into reciting the Lord's Prayer in my 8th grade social studies class by a teacher that would only refer to the Civil War as the war between the states. A person who clearly believed that there was one true version of history, the white version, and one true religion, Christianity, and it was her duty to be sure her students knew that as well. My high school had 1,500 students, exactly 50% white and 50% Black per court order, and yet not a single Black student was in any of my classes other than Jim in all 4 years that I went there. There was an invisible line down the middle of the cafeteria separating where Black and white students ate. Sounds like a movie, right?
You can conclude your remarks, please.
After I left high school, I came here thinking it was safe from these types of ideas, but that complacency is the very thing that brought me here today. It is my complacency and all of our complacency in this very blue city that those types of things can't happen here. And yet here we are.
Thank you for your comments. If you want, wrap up your last sentence, please.
As the comptroller says at nearly every graduation he attends, our precious public schools are the foundation of the multicultural democracy that we strive for. We cannot let members of this CEC associate with a group that quotes Adolf Hitler in communications, targets transgender children, fights to eliminate discussions of sexuality in schools, and really dismantle our public schools altogether.
Thank you for your comments.
Coded in the term parental choice, but that is precisely where we are today.
Thank you for your comments. There's nobody else on the list. I thought one or two people might have walked up to the piano. I think some, did you, yeah, you come on up. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Speak loud into the mic, please.
Thank you all so much. I'm a parent of 2 children in District 2, and I'm here for, in hopes of reinstating the geographic, preference for the district. I wanted to speak to the previous Zoom meeting we had, and even tonight, there's been comments that, D2, like there's a lot of wealth that runs through D2. Just wanted to speak to that for a second, and that there might be, but those people aren't sending their children to D2 schools. Those people have either left the city, they're in private schools, parochial schools, or whatever, private tutors, I don't know. But those people are not the ones that are sending their children to D2 schools. So the undertone that everyone is wealthy in that district, that's absolutely not true. I live in a community where both parents are working and they work really hard, and they chose to live where they live because they wanted to give their children the opportunity of better schools or whatever school that they wanted. Just like any other part in any other neighborhood in America, when you decide where you live, factoring schools is a huge part of the decision. And so for those parents that live in District 2, we made those decisions, and we shouldn't have to consider moving or, having our children move or commute for hours at a time to go to these schools. And I'm really hoping that geographic preference will be reinstated, and that this whole undertone that, oh, it's a wealthy district and it's a power grab, money grab, whatever, that's absolutely not true. Like I said, I live with some of the hardest working people you will ever meet, and all they want is opportunities for their children. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's going to conclude the first public session. Sorry.
I was approached by one of our council members who indicated that she wished to read a statement from a student in District 2. If the council will agree to that, we could take an informal vote. I just think it's appropriate just to get the approval of the council for doing that. I just didn't want to set a precedent without council approval. Would you like to make, I'll make a motion to, okay. Well, I'll just make a motion to permit the reading of this statement from the student. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Resolution passes. I don't know. So, Sonal, if you could. Okay. Yes, you can do a timer, so not to put too much pressure on you, Sonal, but.
Good evening. I am a D2 seventh grader, and I'm asking for this council to make schools safe for all students, including students and teachers that are part of the LGBTQ plus community. Your words hurt all of us. They devalue us, and they really scare us. Why do you want kids to feel scared? You have kids, and you probably do everything to make them feel safe and loved and important. What if they were or are gay or trans? Would you love or fight for them any less? Would you stand by quietly as parent leaders bullied them? It is not your right or anyone else's in a position of power, especially when it comes to school and student safety, to target a group of people because you don't like their gender identity or sexual orientation. Calling trans kids a disease or a cult and saying they aren't real and don't exist and are mentally ill is against everything the Chancellor and Mr. McGuire and Mr. Reggie Higgins and Ms. Kelly Shannon and D2 and the whole New York City School District stands for. You're not worthy of a seat on this council because you have damaged students' trust in your ability to see us for who we are, whether it's gender or sexual orientation or disability status. Your words have impact. Instead of choosing respect for all students, you choose to use your seat on this education council to make students you don't take time to understand to feel alienated and alone and sometimes even terrified. And it's really hard to learn when we feel this way. It's really hard to want to get up and go to school every day. I pray for you, but in the meantime, Ms. Nairn and Ms. Igorov, it would be the right thing to do to resign from this council after we all saw the WhatsApp chat where your words put LGBTQ students' safety at risk. Freedom of speech does not mean you can just attack the LGBTQ kids and then turn around and pretend to serve these same students fairly and with dignity. Your views are a conflict of interest, and that's just basic common sense. I'm a middle schooler, and even I can see this clearly. And you're probably violating our civil rights like Title IX as well. Respectfully, please take your hateful hearts somewhere else where maybe they will eventually heal and let our students live in our lives in peace without fear of violence just for being ourselves. Thank you very much. Sincerely, Oliver Duffy.
That concludes our first public speakers session. There's also a second public speaking session. There's going to be sign-up sheets there. And you are not prohibited if you've already spoken from speaking again. If you wish to supplement your comments, please feel free to do so, but just sign up so we know who's going to be on the list for the second public speaker session. The next item on our agenda is report of the president. I'm going to be fairly brief. I wanted to say that this is my third consecutive term on this council. On previous terms, I've had the opportunity to work with some of the members who are currently members of this council. Before that, I had the opportunity to see the prior council, even before that, or going back 2 councils. So for the last 10 years, I've had an opportunity to see the District 2 Community Education Council and to be part of it for these last 3 terms. There was a speaker tonight who asked, what does this council stand for? I wanted to be absolutely clear to members of the public that this council stands for the resolutions that we pass. When the council speaks and approves a resolution, that is the official policy of the council. We have strongly opinionated members here, and some of those opinions may not be agreeable to other members of this council. I've seen council members, and I've been part of councils where the back and forth and the bantering was literally so interesting and so crazy that it ends up being national news. I think we've got a really good council here. I know there are members that have strong opinions on both sides of different issues. I recognize that. But again, and I'm sure those members know that if any members are going to speak at whatever the event, or if you're going to represent yourself publicly, I know that those council members know that they should let the public know at those events that they are speaking, they're issuing their own opinions and not representing the views of the council, unless they wish to reference prior resolutions that we have passed in the past. And I'm sure that those members are aware of that. And I hope that if they're not, they will be aware and just issue that general disclaimer. I will say this. When you ask what this council stands for, again, you have our resolutions. We have really dedicated people up here who are concerned about the students of our district, who are elected, who are appointed, who share many common values and do agree on many of the issues here. And I think you'll see resolutions that are going to be passed tonight. I think we've had resolutions already in this term, some of which have been passed unanimously. I believe, and I think my son may have actually mentioned this at a prior meeting, that there's so many things that we can focus on that we have in common, so many things that we can work on that bring us together, so many things that we have that unite us as parents in District 2 and parents of public school kids, or dedicated parent leaders, or parents who've had students in this district who really want to see the best schools, the best options, the best system that works for their kids. And I think that's what shouldn't be lost in all of the debates and all of the attacks that have been going on, and all of the things that have certainly hit a nerve in various communities that are out there. So I do think that we have so many things that we can all work together on, so many things that bring us together, and so many things that can unite us, and that's what we really need to focus on. There's so many more things that we can do for our kids. And I think some of those things we're going to try to do tonight when we pass these resolutions. I had the opportunity to recently attend a admissions and diversity meeting. It was tense. I think we had over 100 people at one point. Well, it was a virtual meeting. We had well over 100 people that showed up at that meeting. I'm going to reference that when I talk about the resolutions. But I do want to say that one of the things that parents asked us was, well, you've got these resolutions. What do we do? How do we get involved? So when we pass resolutions, it's important and incumbent upon us as council members and members of the community to publicize those resolutions, to really get the messaging out on the things that we as a council agree on. But we do have a lot of different opinions here, and we have a constitutional right to voice those opinions, and people may not agree with them, and I know that it really hits a nerve. I don't think that people are representing this council, but I am sure, and again, I would ask that if people are going to speak who are members of this council, again, that you again state that these are your opinions and you're not representing the views of the council unless you're discussing a part of resolution. So I just want to make that clear, but we have passed a number of great resolutions and we have a number of great things to look forward to and a number of issues that I look forward to working with all of the members of this council to work for the students in our community. With that being said, I'm going to turn the microphone over to our District 2 Superintendent, Kelly McGuire, so he can give his report. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for having me this evening. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to speak with you tonight. I have just a few brief remarks, and we'll keep it short because I know we have a busy agenda this evening. So I want to start by sharing an update regarding our citywide NYC Reads initiative. As I noted in December, we made our official selection of Wit and Wisdom as our core K-5 literacy curriculum. Beginning in January and continuing into April, all of our elementary school teachers will participate in a 3-day training to get oriented to Wit and Wisdom, learn the approach to literacy development facilitated by this curriculum, and develop the skills needed to plan a strong lesson and learning module. Our principals and assistant principals are also participating in a training to help learn specific curriculum coaching supports for Wit and Wisdom, as well as key strategies and structures to look for when observing teachers. One of the reasons Wit and Wisdom stood out for us as a curriculum was related to the high quality professional learning and customer service offered by the publisher, and we continue to be impressed by their responsiveness. This spring, following the New York State exams, we will teach one core module and we will spend time in June and through summer planning for the fall. On February 9th at 9 a.m., Great Minds, the publishers of Wit and Wisdom, will offer the first in a series of parent workshops regarding the curriculum. This workshop will take place virtually and last about 45 minutes. We will continue these workshops, both offered through the publisher and through our district team in the run-up to our fall 2024 launch. During our February CEC meeting, I will be offering some overview data regarding the foundational literacy performance in our district. As many of you know, one of our goals has been the implementation of strong foundational literacy, primarily those reading skills needed in grades pre-K through 3. We expect through the work of our teachers and schools that a greater number of our students will be on the pathway to proficiency in reading because of our collective efforts. In February, we will also share updates regarding middle school mathematics proficiency, our second primary goal for the district. As I've shared in months past, our middle school teachers have been coming together every month to engage in lesson study and peer observation through professional learning facilitated by our district team. Teachers are working incredibly hard, and we are beginning to see some strong results. 3 of our schools who have been studying illustrative mathematics in our district for 2 years, Wagner Middle School, Baruch Middle School, and Lab Middle School, have test scores that have improved dramatically, including both for subgroups, students with disabilities, and English as a new learner. Those test scores have improved by 20 to 30 points. And we look forward to sharing more data with the community in February after the completion of our mid-year screeners. Earlier this month, we observed a first group of families who are seeking asylum in our country. We observed them leave our schools. Some families have relocated within New York City and others have moved to different parts of the state or country. As you have likely heard in the media, we have also continued to welcome new students and families to our school communities and families that are seeking asylum. To date, there does not appear to be a net gain or loss of students who are living in temporary housing in the district. I would like to share a real appreciation for the teachers, school leaders, and parents who continue to support these new students. Just this morning, I was at a school hosting a clothing collection, and it's inspiring to see how much kindness is pouring through those communities and continues to support, and that the energy for these new families is still alive and well. Finally, I'd like to share that admissions are now open for 3K and pre-K at both our District 2 Pre-K Center and pre-K and 3K programs that are located in most of our public elementary schools. These are free, world-class, if I might say, all day long early childhood programs, and I only wish they were around when my kids were in preschool aged. Information about 3K and pre-K programs can be found on our schools.nyc.gov website, and parents can create an account and apply through myschools.nyc. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
The first question I had is, can we get the most recent update, at least in terms of your information, as to the number of migrant students in District 2? I know that number fluctuates and you gave us a range. Could you give us the most recent range?
That range continues to be between 17 and 1,800 students.
Any other council members' questions?
Sorry, I may have missed it. I know you said there was no net change in the asylum seekers. Do you have some sense as to plus 400 and minus 400? Like you say no net, but what is? Do you have some sense as the gross? And do we just assume that everyone who left had to leave because of the 60-day rule? I mean, I would think that that's the case, but is that probably accurate?
I don't actually think that it's necessarily the case because of the 60-day rule, but I do appreciate the attention to it. I will say that over the past couple of weeks, what we have seen is the number of students increase a little bit, decrease a little bit, and that's what I mean when I'm just saying like there hasn't been much of a net change. I get a lot of information, and we get a lot of information from our schools, from our elementary schools, and we're reaching out to them regularly to find out how things are going there. And we may hear that in 1 week, a school has lost 34 students, but then they've also gained 30 new students to the school. And so there continues to be an ongoing unenrollment, and families are going to all different kinds of places. Some families are remaining in New York City, moving to a different part of the city. Some families are moving to different locations in the state, and others to different parts of the country. It's been difficult to keep track of where everybody is going, but we are continuing to offer the same services and supports in our schools that are serving this population of kids.
Thank you. I was wondering, you mentioned the pre-K to third grade, the literacy program. Has that been, I know we had spoken about it before, has it been rolled out or is it slowly being rolled out within the school system?
That one is fully on board. We have spent really the last few years in this district onboarding that foundational literacy program, starting with kids who are in pre-K, and for the most part continuing for kids who are in third grade. This year, we decided that with the adoption of NYC Reads in the following year, that we needed to get this right this year. And so we did a full court press. And when I say we, I mean not just our district team, but really our teachers and school leaders are really leading the charge. And so on a monthly basis, we visit different schools, listen to teachers highlight the incredible practice that they have going on in their classrooms, and also then talk to them about what we're seeing in the results, which are pretty extraordinary and really wonderful. And like I said, we do think that this is going to put kids on a pathway to become proficient readers in the future, and leaders.
Thank you. And I want to mention, you mentioned that Wagner is one of the 3 schools that we saw the test scores had improved by 30 points. And also, I'm happy to share that Wagner is one of the gifted programs, the selective programs for the high schools, for middle schools. And I know a lot of parents wanted to hear that and appreciate that. And we hope that we could bring that to more schools so most students have this opportunity.
Sono had her hand.
Hi, I just want to follow up somewhat on something that we had discussed last month, and I've spoken to a number of parents in our district, and it seems that there is still an increasing anti-Palestinian hate and Islamophobia across our district and focused in certain neighborhoods and in certain schools. But I'm curious to hear from you and your team and what you're doing to support the teachers that are being attacked, the students, the families, and other than, I think last month we spoke about, healing circles and social emotional learning in the schools and other things, but is there anything that the DOE is looking at and is communicating to families so that they feel safe going into their schools so that they're not bombarded on a daily basis? We have teachers getting death threats at schools still. And so I think that's something the DOE really needs to address, and District 2 in particular. These are families and schools that are very supportive of you, Kelly, and very, supportive of the work that you're doing in the district. And I think that they would like to hear that the DOE is taking these actions and doing something about it.
So I can't comment on any specific case or any specific individual. What I can say is that we have had parents, teachers reach out to us as a district team. We always respond to families whenever there are concerns that are raised. Either one of us has a one-on-one conversation or a team conversation with the family, or other members of our district team responds to them. One of the things that I am most proud of in this district is that no email or outreach ever goes ignored. And so we work directly with families or teachers until there is a resolution to a problem that is raised. And we will continue to do that. So just this morning, there was a call that we received, an email that we received, and we are following up with families. So I will say that we feel confident, not just in how it is that we're responding to issues of hate that may occur in our schools, but we feel confident in the resources and supports that are either available in schools or that we are able to pull into schools to help to support individuals, families, and students.
At the recent committee meeting for the Diversity and Admissions Committee, there was a parent who posed a question to you that you didn't have the answer for at the time, and that I wanted to bring back up because you said you were going to address it at this meeting. And he had asked a question regarding the approval process for the number of seats, the percentage of seats that were set aside at any individual school for children who were on a free or reduced lunch program. And at the time, it was understood that that number was decided upon by the principal. And we had asked whether or not there was a review process for that at the district or the citywide level, and what that was and where the decision to approve that was made.
Thank you for that question. And I did speak with our enrollment office about that prior to this meeting. The decisions around free and reduced lunch set-asides in our high schools are made at the local level, meaning that they are made at the school site. In the vast majority of high schools that I have heard from directly, those decisions were made by the school leadership team. Whether they conducted a formal vote or not, sometimes yes, sometimes not. Sometimes that's just been an issue that has been on the SLT agenda and discussed by the SLT, but that was not a decision that was made system-wide by either the enrollment office or the chancellor, current or former, that those decisions are local to the schools that have decided to create set-aside enrollment for students who receive free or reduced lunch.
And as a follow-up, are those required to be approved by your office?
I don't work with high schools at all. I don't create they are not, in short.
So let's,
a school can make that decision, whether it's a middle school or a high school, they can make that decision.
So let's talk about the schools that are under your purview for a second. So in terms of elementary schools or middle schools, I guess middle schools would be the most applicable here in terms of set aside. Did those decisions get made by the individual principals, and then do those decisions get brought to you, or are they just tacitly approved?
So the decisions are, those issues are discussed at the middle school level. I don't have authority over whether or not I will agree to a set aside or not. But I do ask that that principal and SLT engage with me when they are considering a set aside. Since I have been superintendent, there have not been any new schools that have changed their set asides or proposed new set asides. But that is certainly something that I want to be in discussion with, not just the principal, but with the SLT, because this district is like a jigsaw puzzle. You move one piece and the other piece also moves. Maybe jigsaw puzzle is not the best analogy, but but one piece move. We have to think about this issue on a district-wide scale, and we want to make sure that we are creating enough seats and creating enough space in all of our schools, while at the same time honoring the local decisions of schools, SLTs, and school leaders that might want to create diversity set asides.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Just to follow up again with some of the things that Alice just mentioned. You were at the meeting and we talked about one of the issues that came up was that principals on a local level of the schools that you just admitted to us on a local level had made the decisions to change the admissions rubric specifically to increase in many cases, and I'm talking about, let's talk about the high school situation, to increase the high school set asides for free and reduced lunch in many cases up to like I think 75%. I don't know if there's any schools, I don't know what the current set aside for Elro is, but the percentages, how much is it?
I also don't know.
Okay. What I'm curious about, was there any discussion, because you talked about jigsaw puzzles and you talked about collaboration, was there any discussion with anyone from the high schools, with your office or anyone at District 2 elementary level or the middle school level about those changes that were made? So either you had input in the process or they consulted you before making these changes? Because one thing that I think was pretty apparent to me, and I mentioned it at the meeting, was that a lot of the changes in terms of the admissions decisions or admissions rubrics to get into these schools was made at a local level, and there was no review process. There's no, that's being done. And certainly the CEC never had a chance to, vote on this or chime in on it. We just found out all of a sudden schools are going to 50%, 75%, maybe even higher at certain schools. And that really changes the whole composition of certain schools, because trying to socially engineer it, I get the logic behind it because you can't use other things, but I was wondering what the collaboration, if any, was between the high school level and the middle school or district level in those decisions being made, and if you knew they were coming, or what input you may have had in those.
Sure. At the time that those decisions were made, I was not in this position and was not even in the district at the time. So I didn't know what was happening in relationship between the community school superintendent and the high school superintendent. I don't know whether or not they were encouraged to collaborate or whether this was a decision that was really just taken out of her hands at the time and made more centrally. When I came in, the set-asides, the change from district to borough, in some schools, the elimination of district priorities across the city was already in place. What I can say is that I have been in conversation with Superintendent Beitelman, who supervises the majority of high schools in our geographic district. He and I want to work together. He is aware that I believe that that as a representative of District 2 families, that I would like to see opportunities for more District 2 or Manhattan priority seats for our students and families. And I think that one of the things that came out during the A&D committee meeting, which I didn't get to participate in, but listened throughout it, was that those concerns are reflected by a variety of parents. It's not just a single group of parents that are that believe there should be some either Manhattan or district priority high school seats. There are some schools that have Manhattan priority seats already, and that is perhaps a conversation that we can focus on through another admissions committee meeting. I'm happy to do that and can let you know that I'm continuing to discuss this issue and want to help support our families.
Well, can I get you to commit to work with this council to tweak?
It depends on who.
Well, to work with this council as a council,
yes.
majority of this council, to tweak those set asides, because I think it's you mentioned the word continuity, and it would be nice if middle school parents in this district knew that they weren't automatically, just based on their incomes, were precluded from attending 3/4, if not the majority of the schools in this district, just based on their income. We may feel that District 2 is privileged, but these set asides are they're a low number, and quite frankly, they're discriminating against people who may be better off by automatically saying that we're going to limit the number. Only 25% of parents above a certain threshold, for example, can even get into that school. So I hope that I can get you to at least commit to working with us in theory or in principle, that these numbers need to be tweaked, as you said, to allow for more seats to go to District 2 families that really want that community and want to take advantage of the schools that we already have, and to increase the predictability of admissions, which we've talked about many times.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Any other questions, council members?
But I went already, so if everyone else wants to go before. Two quick questions, or hopefully quick. One is, could you give us an update on the City Knoll potential merger, or however, reorganization? And then the second question, and I don't know that you're going to know this, but if you can get me the information, I know that the schools across the city, and in particular this district, are supposed to have door locking mechanisms installed this semester, I guess. Do you have a schedule? Because I know, like, for example, my school, they're asking and they're asking and they're asking, and I don't know that you would have it off the top of your head, but if there's a way to get a schedule or some kind of idea for which school is going when, because there are parents who are asking.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yep, for sure. In regard to the City Knoll merger with Facing History, we are still in the process of meeting with the different families and school communities there. We have an upcoming meeting with the PS 111 SLT next week, just to talk about what the implications are. Let them know if they have any questions in regard to this, because City Knoll has been merged. I'm sorry, City Knoll has been cited in the PS 111 building, and under this proposed merger with Facing History, they would no longer be. So it is important, I think, to talk with them a little bit about what the issues, the implications of that might be on their school. We also have a joint meeting coming up between the City Knoll SLT and the Facing History SLT. And also there have been a couple of events that have been sponsored between the schools in which students from Facing History have actually traveled to City Knoll to talk with them about the school and to kind of continue to build connections there. In regard to the door lock,
Sorry, just on that comment, I would hope that you would involve, and I think it's Councilmember Healy's school, the City Knoll, yours, that he's involved, because just he might have some interesting, ideas with what's around it.
Yes, we did communicate.
Okay, great.
Sorry. And then in regard to the door locking mechanisms, those are being installed on a rolling basis. We don't have a set schedule for them, but I think that if you wanted to, anybody wanted to reach out to me and email to find out when it is that they might expect their school to receive this device. I'm sure that somebody has a schedule, right? They have just not shared it with me.
Thank you, Superintendent McGuire. Before I go to the next item on our agenda, no, does any council members have any questions before we go? Thank you. You're off the hook.
Oh, you want to ask him about the student rep since he's here anyway? So.
It sounds like a lost cause at this point, but any chance of getting a student rep this term?
Yeah, we continue to put it out in newsletters, and we ask the high school superintendents to put it out in newsletters as well.
Okay. We're advertising for a student rep for Community Education Council District 2. There are specific requirements, has to be a senior, but it should be posted on the website. Thank you. Before I go on to the next item on the agenda, I just wanted to remind everyone, I forgot to mention in my report that we will be having our District 2 Town Hall event with Chancellor Banks. That will be taking place on February 13th at 6:30 p.m. And that will be at MS 131 100 Hester Street. And that's a Sun Yat-sen school, I believe. So it will be an in-person event, and we will also have a link posted so you can join it online as well. Next item on our agenda is the report of committees. Would anyone like to make any committee reports? We had 2 committee meetings.
Thank you. I'd like to report on the meeting of the Students with Disabilities Committee. As Kate mentioned, we had a very good meeting, talked about dyslexia, identification, and school supports. And so we were very lucky to have Kate and her daughter Grace come to present, to share their knowledge and experiences. And also Emily Hellstrom, who's the founder of the Students with Disabilities Committee. She also gave a presentation about the science of literacy and some of her work. And also thank you to Superintendent Kelly McGuire for coming and participating in that. And yeah, it was just a very supportive meeting. I personally went into the meeting not knowing very much about the subject, and so it was very informative for me. And we had like a number of council members and also parents who came and kind of shared their experiences, parents of high school students, parents of younger students. So it was very good to have that opportunity in that space to talk about what I think is a very important issue. And I also want to thank, and if you didn't see if you weren't able to attend the meeting, the recording is up on our YouTube channel. And so I want to thank Victor for facilitating behind the scenes. You didn't see his face on the Zoom, but he was there. So thank you to him for that. And we are going to try to have more meetings of the Students with Disabilities Committee and try to have a range of topics and hopefully make a space, a relatively informal space, a relatively small group, so we can kind of just talk freely and discuss what's on our minds, because I think it's important, particularly for students for families of students with IEPs, to be able to talk about that experience and what they go through with schools, to try to sort of identify the things that we struggle with, like for example, just getting a school to sort of put dyslexia on your IEP can often be can be a challenge, can be a real struggle. And so just being able to share those experiences was really helpful. So thank you to everyone.
Thank you. I did listen to the replay. I wasn't able to join that night, but I did listen to the replay. Thank you for sharing your story. It's very moving. And also, if you go onto the CEC2 website, there's a section for committees, and under that, there's a Students with Disabilities Committee. The video is there as well. I uploaded it for you on the website. Yeah. We also had an admissions and, sorry, this is like what I'm talking about. Apologies. We had an admissions and diversity committee that same week, earlier in the week. We had at one point, I think 130 people on. very well attended. The focus was on high school geographic priority, and I'm not going to talk too much about it because we'll speak about it on the resolution. I want to thank council members Bowen and thank Councilmember Silverman for helping me out there. I think it was a really robust discussion. It was more of a forum for families to speak up about what they want, and I think the overwhelming sense is that there needs to be some priority. I think some people had questions whether it should be borough-wide or district priority, but I think overwhelmingly the sentiment was we need some priority here. And it's not an issue of District 2 is hoarding resources because we're all rich. Not all of us are rich. Not all of us can afford private school if their high school admissions doesn't work out. A 1 in 5 chance is scaring families away out of the district, out of public schools or out of the city overall. So I think it was as I said, it was a robust discussion. The resolution that you see tonight will be encapsulating the conversation. And I hope, as Council Member Silverman said before, we can work with the Superintendent Biddleman also. He was at the meeting. Yes, he was at the meeting. And thank you for joining us, by the way. And Superintendent Biddleman, and work closely to find some relief for our families. I think we just don't want our kids to be forced to have 3-hour or more round trips. It's just, as I said before, it's not healthy. It's just not a good experience.
The other committee reports. The next item on our agenda is the discussion of resolutions. We'll do this in order. Resolution number 238, resolution to oppose mayoral control of the New York City Department of Education. With the sponsors, I guess, want to talk first on that.
So yeah, as I mentioned at the beginning, I mean, I see this resolution as really as a way of looking, taking a fresh look at mayoral control and trying to, ask for a more sort of comprehensive review of it. And what form that takes, could be, I think is up for debate. And that's why I said at the beginning, I don't think that this resolution is and the other one are mutually exclusive. I think that we could still take a closer look at this, and so people who support the other resolution might want to support this one as well, because it is talking about how do we look at this with sort of fresh eyes and try to come to this new. And nobody wants to go back to the sort of 1970s system. But I think we're in a different place now, and we are in, we have different capabilities and different city altogether, and we can, look at this issue and try to find some ways where we can have some more direct participation of the public. And I mean, not just parents either, because I think students are also, as we've seen, we've had a student representative on this panel. We don't have one right now, but students are stakeholders. And all community members are stakeholders, because we all benefit from public schools, whether we are students or parents or not. We benefit from having an educated populace. We benefit from just having citizens who can participate in their government and their society. So I think that's for those reasons, that's why I put forth this resolution, why I support it.
So I just wanted to speak on this resolution. So I appreciate the sponsors of this resolution putting this together. However, and I was asked to be a co-sponsor, and I looked at it, and I respectfully declined. There are a few issues that I had. The first is I am old enough to remember the rank, and I will call it rank corruption, when we had local control. I will give an example from my own family. My mother was a deputy school superintendent in a district in Brooklyn, and that district voted to appoint a assistant principal who had been a gym teacher, I believe, as the superintendent. That person that they appointed was a school board member, and that they appointed one of their own to that position. Now, he ended up being great in the position, but That process clearly really was about as corrupt as it gets. Self-dealing. And while I am less concerned about whatever future, if District 2 was to, for example, have some more control, I would be less concerned with our district than other districts. I think that if you look at the city in general, I think the basic human emotions of greed and corruption are still out there. So that's one issue I have. Also, I would just point out that I was not a fan of Mayor de Blasio. During the de Blasio administration, I didn't see these same calls to do away with mayoral control as we have today, and that raises another issue. I did have the opportunity to attend a UFT event fairly recently, and at that event, it was clear that the UFT, and I heard President Mulgrew, was really pushing for an end to mayoral control. And another concern that I have is that this particular issue is being used as a bargaining chip in potential negotiations between the UFT and the city. And I suspect this is just my thought, that at the end, there'll be some sort of negotiation to withdraw the opposition to mayoral control in exchange for some sort of a deal. I don't know if that's what might be happening behind the scenes, but that's another concern that I had. And finally, the other concern that I had is that while I agree with you that this resolution brings up some good points, it doesn't propose a really effective alternative other than maybe a study or a commission to look into the issue. And I think before you do away with mayoral control, you have to have something in place that works. And I am very skeptical of an alternative system, regardless of whether I agree with the mayor or disagree with the mayor, he or she, whoever the future mayors are on certain issues. I will tell you that I still am more comfortable having an executive who is subject to more oversight by either the city council or even the press than I am to have different districts each doing their own thing with God knows what type of level of oversight and really monkeying with the system and really having different interests that may not really jive with what the city needs. So that's why I cannot support this resolution. But I do applaud these sponsors for really, because it is an issue I think we can discuss, and maybe in the future we can come to some sort of agreement on these issues. But right now, I think I can't support it. Anyone else have any comments on resolution number 238? Okay. Next resolution is number 239, air quality in schools.
Great. I'm not going to get too far into this one because there's a lot of data already in there, and we've talked about it a little bit already. I think it's important to point out that the average public school building is approximately 60 years old. I work in a former public school, and it's actually a historic site, and it's full of mold, and we're all coughing all the time. We know that the air quality is getting worse nationwide, New York City as well. I think the pandemic really taught us, not that we didn't already know that it's important to breathe and things. I think that also the bill having the dashboard is really great, so people can actually know and think, well, sort of thought about that, especially when you can visibly see the wildfire smoke. Like, what are we sending our kids into? What's happening? Is their school okay? Is it not okay? I'd like to thank some of the co-sponsors with the editing to really put into this resolution, talking about that you can't just say, hey, we support this bill, but we want changes when they show that the air quality is not up to par, that they need remediation done in each school. And yeah, so it's really just supporting the bill, but also saying you can't just say we're going to monitor, you have to monitor and make changes so that the air quality continues to improve instead of get worse. That's about it. Any questions? Sorry, I can hand this.
I'd like to start by just saying I respect the intention of City Council's bill, and I also respect the intentions of the co-sponsors of this resolution. And I think it's goes without saying that we want good indoor air quality and that we want to continue improving it, especially in buildings that are as old as the ones in the New York City public school system. But by way of background, I was certified as a LEED accredited professional. For those of you who may not be familiar with this designation system, LEED is LEED. It's the Leadership in Energy Environmental Design. It is a certification by the U.S. Green Buildings Council, and it's the most widely used framework for qualifying healthy and efficient buildings. And you can be a LEED accredited professional. You can also work in a LEED building. And I spent some time looking at the underlying bill that this resolution refers to, as well as the resolution itself, and discussing this with some other professionals in my industry. And I think the bill itself is flawed on a number of levels, including what it's requiring the city to test, where it's testing, and the extent of that testing. I could go into detail, but I think it's technical detail that is not necessary to make these points. And I also think that the language around remediation is very ambiguous language, and it's setting effectively no standard by setting a standard too high that's ensuring the safety. To ensure the safety is not a standard for remediation, and it's not taking into account the possibility or the practicability of making these changes in the building stock that we have. I think these are very aspirational goals. I think we should think about including them in new building construction and major renovation projects, but because of the flaws in the resolution and the underlying bill, I'm a no on this resolution. Thank you.
Any other members? Okay, the next resolution for discussion is resolution number 240, resolution in support of mayoral control of the New York City school system and recommendations for enhancements of school government.
Thank you. I appreciate people have frustration with mayoral control. And there is a question of accountability. To me, there is accountability. David Zinkins, Ed Koch, Abe Beam, what do they all have in common? Anybody know what city history? They were all mayors who were voted out. Abe Beam was voted out. Ed Koch voted out. David Zinkins voted out. People weren't happy with them. They got voted out. Even Mike Bloomberg in his last term almost got voted out by Bill Thompson. So there is accountability. If you're not happy, you vote them out. And I remember the last mayoral election. One of the big topics, I think something that was discussed and vetted through all of the candidates, and remember, there were a lot of candidates, education. There was accountability because we had every debate, education was at the forefront of those debates. So, in terms of what else? I mean, I can also tell you stories about school boards. I'm also old enough to remember my school board where the superintendent worked with the FBI to report his school board members who decided that A, they had too many Jewish principals, they wanted more Italian principals, and they could make money hiring Italian principals. And the entire school board was actually eliminated, was thrown out by Chancellor Meklowitz at the time. So, but I don't think people are going to it doesn't sound like people want to go back to that. There's also direct election. And I know some cities are going through that, but where has it been successful? I don't know. Does anybody here think San Francisco is the San Francisco educational system is a model system? Because they have direct elections. I don't think that works. I mean, they were very interested in renaming school buildings during the pandemic, but not actually addressing the educational needs of the students. So I also think that if we go to that, the special interest groups, such as the UFT, will have an outsized influence on that. I think that mayoral control lends itself to accountability. Mayor has jurisdiction over all the other municipal departments. Why not this one as well? And again, if you don't like him, vote him out. We have voices. He or she, whoever's sitting in the mayoral seat, has to listen to them. He or she could ignore them. That's on everything that we have. That's the Department of Transportation. He or she could listen to us on that as well. That's up to them. And if we don't like it, the next mayor will vote him out. We'll vote the person out. So I do believe that mayoral control does lend itself to accountability. Thank you.
Any other council members?
I just want to add for the historical record, I think Michael Bloomberg spent quite a bit of his own, substantial wealth to secure that third term, despite what, the people had said about wanting, the mayor to have 2 terms. So that's just one thing I'll mention. I really chafe at the arguments about against sort of more direct sort of public sort of participation in this process, because they just seem to me like they're arguments ultimately in favor of a kind of dictatorship, like the people aren't ready for this. It's true that, there are problems in any system, but I want to point out in New York State, the only municipalities that don't have a directly elected school board are New York City and Yonkers. So every other city in the state, has one. And yeah, places like, Los Angeles and Chicago and other cities have gone to this kind of system. And I think it does make a lot of sense. And, I think some of the things in this resolution really kind of lose the forest for the trees. I mean, we're specifying, you're specifying the resolution, exactly how many, sort of PEP members we'll have and things like that. And I guess, sure, I understand that. I want to point out that actually frequently the PEP meetings lately actually end earlier than our meetings. So they are actually relatively efficient despite having, 23 members. And going to, a smaller number, I don't think really makes much of a difference, particularly when this resolution is still calling for the majority of them to be mayoral appointees. And what we've seen is that the mayoral appointees vote as a block. They rubber stamp things with very little discussion. I also want to point out some of the things, I agree that maybe the high school students need more representation, but I don't think the way you do that is by having CCHS sort of participate in this process. Because I would argue that CCHS, the Citywide Council on High Schools, is not very representative of the New York City public school community. For example, in the Bronx, did you know that of the votes cast for CCHS representative in the Bronx, half of them were cast from a single high school in the Bronx? And that high school, unfortunately, in a borough where 88% of the students are Black and Hispanic, that particular high school is about 12% Black and Hispanic. And I think we see a similar thing in a lot of the other schools represented on the Citywide Council on High Schools, that they're not really reflective of our city. And I think if we had an election where we had, one precinct in the borough of the Bronx, casting more than half of the votes for, say, Bronx Borough President, and we had numbers of precincts with no votes cast, the federal civil rights office would come and take a look at that. And I think that's kind of what we face here. And this resolution is also calling to eliminate some of the borough president appointees to the council, to the PEP. And I want to say, who's more representative of the people? A CEC elected representative? Look, none of us on this panel received more than a few hundred votes. The Manhattan Borough President received 223,000 votes in his last election. So is his appointee sort of more representative of what the people want, or is the appointee of us more representative? And I would say that unless our elections, our CEC elections are a little bit more representative, then that process isn't really going to change. So I think by sort of putting in all these extra sort of steps, we're actually not really increasing representation, and we are sort of missing the forest for the trees. And so that's why I won't be able to support this particular resolution.
So I do want to point out, because I know you go to a lot of the PEP meetings. I don't go, but I watch them. And yes, they've been ending earlier, but that's a testament to Chair Faulkner, who limits who limits the time that people speak. There are many PEP members Councilmember Shepherd, Councilmember Salas Ramirez, who have complained that they do not get enough time to speak at these meetings. And true, I mean, he cuts them off after, I think it's 2 minutes, I think, or something like that. And a lot of those members complain, and I get it. Like, they want to speak for more than 2 minutes. You can't do that when you have 23 members. So, saying that the PEP meetings end early, I don't know that they're early for a good reason. It sounds more like just efficiency, but people are frustrated with the fact that they're ending early. And in terms of the borough president retained these powers simply because, at the end of the day, simply because after the charter revision in 1989 or 1990, when the borough presidents were told, or the city was told, that having the borough presidents help run the city was unconstitutional because of equality protection clause, the borough presidents needed something to do. They needed some function. So they maintained functions over some land use through the community boards and this education. But I still don't get why they are uniquely qualified to do that, as opposed to the mayor of the city of New York. He is the chief executive officer. So that's just, you can disagree with me, but I don't necessarily see why the borough presidents need that. If you're going to do anything, have more CEC people on there, like you have now, the elected representative of the CEC. I also, find it interesting that you don't want CCHS to have more representation because you don't like who was elected to the CCHS. I am all for FACE getting more of the vote out. That would be great. If we had schools all across the city having 10, 20, 30% voter participation rate, that's great, but this is what the vote was. For whatever reason, this is it, and we either live by that or die by that. I think Councilmember Silverman said it perfectly. He agrees with mayoral control. He would agree with it even if Bill de Blasio was still mayor, and I'm also not a fan of Bill de Blasio. It doesn't matter who the mayor is. The next mayor could be someone that I'm not comfortable with, but I still would agree with mayoral control.
Any other members wish to say anything? This resolution. Okay, the next resolution, discussion on resolution 241, resolution to provide geographic priority for D2 Manhattan High School admissions. I just want to start off by saying I want to acknowledge the significant number of emails that I certainly have received in support of this resolution. I think this resolution is not a resolution that's unique to this council. This is just continuing the work of the last council, where we were strongly supportive of District 2 priority. And I think this resolution really embodies the overwhelming majority of support for District 2 priority, for geographic priority for Manhattan High School admissions. This has been a horrible situation. It was something that was removed without the consent of any parents. It was done basically without any constitutional review or without any democratic review of this process. And again, I think that parents in District 2, one thing that we can all agree upon, you may have different opinions on a lot of things, but one thing we can all agree upon is that we were elected to represent District 2. So even though we may have different ideologies that we may believe in, even though we may agree that there are disagree on the ways to get from point A to point B, we were elected to represent this district, or we were appointed to represent this district. And I think nothing is more helpful to the parents of this district, and that's all the parents of this district, regardless of whether you're rich, you're poor, you're black, you're white, you're Asian, you're Hispanic, Latino, whatever. District 2 priority helps every parent in this district when it comes to Manhattan High School admissions. So I support this. This is really a continuation of all of the resolutions, all of the forums, all of the times that we've had discussions on this. And I truly believe that District 2 is overwhelmingly in support of this resolution.
Thanks. And I'm not going to say a whole lot more because a lot has been said, but just a couple of points. In the schools that used to have district priority, two of them were built relatively recently, Elro and Millennium, for the specific purpose of having more schools available, more high school seats available for students in the neighborhood. That's where they were built. And that was taken away. And that's a slap in the face of all the parents who fought to get these seats. These schools were built for our kids. The other thing I want to comment on is we've spoken a lot about tonight the I think it was an 18% rate of nobody getting their top 12 matches or any of their 12 matches. And that's true. But think about it this way. And my son is not in high school, so I haven't gone through this. I went through this as a high school student myself many years ago. How many of you would actually be happy with your 12th choice? You know, most people are really putting down a bunch of safety schools on the bottom that they're really not thrilled about. They'll accept it. But most people want their top 5 choices, top 6 choices. And in fall 2021, District 2 students, 60% got one of their top 5 choices. So you had a 2 in 5 chance of not getting your top 5 choices. People are going to leave for that. If you can't afford private school, and many, many parents in District 2 cannot afford private school, you're going to leave the city. You're going to leave the city for the suburbs, or you're going to try to get into a charter school. So, you know, I think we just shouldn't forget that, you know, top 12 is great. It's good that you get into one of your 12, but that's not really that great. Parents are looking for quality alternatives, quality choices for their kids, and quality could very well mean what's close, what's safe to commute to. Do I want my kid having 3 transfers, 2 trains and a bus? Queens has Francis Lewis High School, which is a really good school, and it's a zone school. So if you don't get into any of your choices, you can put Francis Lewis down, you'll get in. Now let me ask you, if anybody here lives down in the Battery, let's just say the Battery, and you got assigned to Francis Lewis High School, which is a really good school, and I think it's Fresh Meadows or Hillside or somewhere like that. That's probably an hour and a half commute. I mean, right? I grew up in Queens, I should know this, but you went to Francis Lewis? Okay, so it's probably an hour and a half commute. You want your kid leaving at high school? Some high schools start at 7:30. You want your kid leaving at 6 o'clock in the morning when it's pitch black out? Anyway, if anybody else has any comments.
I should contribute to that. Yes, as a parent elective, all I can hear from all the District 2 parents is that we want to have District 2 priority for our high schools. So my child is in high school and does travel an hour and a half and does leave at 6:50 in the morning to go to high school. And for that, I mean, I think it would be very helpful to have district priority. That is what, if we want we want families to stay within the district, we should offer district priority. Thank you.
Sorry, I want to say something that I think is maybe not so popular in these meetings, but I think is probably resonates with a very large number of parents in our district. Is that for most of us, it's not a choice between like private school or not. And you know, I mean, public school is the thing for me, for my family, and I think for most of us in this city. And so I really do support the maintenance of DIA set-asides, diversity and admissions, and also for the set-asides for students with disabilities, because students with disabilities travel incredibly long distances, often to go to school with unreliable buses. And I think that we're not going to hear from the families who most benefit from the diversities in admissions initiatives. They're generally not coming to these meetings. I'm pretty sure they're not coming to a CEC2 sponsored admissions and diversity committee meeting, because I don't think they feel that that's a welcoming space for them. And it isn't. They're not wrong. So I want to say that, you know, I think whatever we do, I mean, as I know as this council, where sort of our oversight over high schools is very limited, since there's only one high school, you know, in this district that we're directly sort of like looking at. But I think that it's important to remember who's not in this room, and that a lot of people do benefit from set-asides for diversity and admissions and for students with disabilities.
One comment is that I understand your point, but this resolution doesn't speak to that. at all. It doesn't say anything about that. That was a comment and it was a discussion point, but that's not part of the resolution, germane to the resolution.
Just to address that specific point, I want to mention that as an IEP parent, I can tell you that schools such as Elro had a certain number of seats that are set aside for IEP seats. And with District 2 priority, those IEP seats will go to District 2 students. So this is not, I really don't agree with the, I don't agree with that argument. So I think District 2 priority, again, it's good for this district. It helps the parents of our district, and I'm thrilled to have this resolution. And I look forward to working with the council when it's passed to really try to get it out there, and hopefully with Superintendent McGuire's help to really move it forward and get some real traction.
And by the way, I don't think this would apply to consortium schools. I mean, they have their own method of doing it. So I don't think like Beacon, I don't think would be this would apply to that or those types of schools. But anyway.
Any other comments? Okay. Next item on our agenda is the approval of minutes. Should be in the packet.
Thank you to Victor.
Thank you to Victor, wherever Victor is. Thanks, Victor. Would any revisions to the minutes, any alterations, changes, proposed edits? I would make a motion to approve the minutes from, what do we have, December of 2023. Can we have a roll call in a second? Okay, let's take a vote.
Okay, thank you. Preet Bopara. Preet Bopara says yes. Allison Bowen? Yes. Danielle Agarov is absent. Gavin Healy? Yes. Charles Love? Yes. Maud Marin? Yes. Sonal Patel? Yes. Jessica Savage? Yes. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg? Yes. Sabina Serenise? Yes. Leonard Silverman? Yes. And Craig Slutskin is a yes. It passes 11-0-0.
Minutes are approved. The next item on our agenda is the second public speaker session. I do want to thank all of you for your patience in waiting. I know it's tough. One of the hardest things about coming to these meetings is having to not be able to say anything and having to wait till we're busy talking and we get all the things we want to say out. If I had to guess, some of us, well, I won't even go there, but anyway, if you signed up, if you haven't signed up, he's got the sign-in sheet. So he's gonna, I'll ask Craig to call the speakers now for the second public speaking session. You'll also have 2 minutes to speak.
And just when you're speaking, I don't know if you noticed that Sarah, that very nice council member at the end, has a camera that she actually is showing to you, so you can see the minutes. Yeah. So we'll start off with Sumitra, and then Jessica Harvey, you'll be next. Oh, Jessica left, okay. Mutoko, you'll be next.
Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, totally support resolution 241. I think it makes common sense. The kids don't need to commute for 1.5 hours. It's absurd. So yeah, totally support that. Just with Dr. Superintendent Kelly McGuire, 2 questions came up to my mind. As you mentioned that the immigrant students are coming in and going out continuously, how are we looking at the vaccinations for these kids? There's like a lot of flu going around the schools right now. And secondly, like when a student joins the school, let's say like in mid-year, like right now it's January or February, how do they graduate from these classes? Like, so if there's someone joins 6th standard or 4th, 5th standard or 7th standard in Feb, do they graduate like just having completed half the year, or like I don't know. This is a tricky thing. Like I don't understand how someone who studied only for 2-3 months in a class graduates, and how do you handle those things? And the vaccination, I'm assuming that this is going to be an ongoing situation. I don't see an end to this. So like right now and then going forward, how do you plan to address this? If you could speak to that either this meeting or next meeting, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. So we don't have a back and forth conversation, so maybe you can speak with him separately. I'm sure he'll be happy to speak with you. Matoko will be next, and then Lara, you'll go after.
Okay. So early summer 2021, when I saw many parents flooded the CECD2 meeting asking for help because their children were not matched to any of the 12 schools that they listed in high school admission, I thought the new mayor would improve this unfair policy quickly. But after 3 years, it hasn't. Instead, District 2 families are forced to not list their real choice of 12 schools because we all know that if you actually list your choice, then you will get unmatched and DOE will randomly assign a school for you. So D2 parents and families only list two or three schools that is truly their choice, and then the safety schools. But even then, you get unmatched, especially if you make more than $60,000 combined. And $60,000 as a family of four is not really enough to live comfortably in Manhattan. I say that because I was one of them. I know plenty of parents who live in public housing, but makes a little over 60,000 combined as a family. I know some who lives in a studio so they can live in District 2. I live in a one-bedroom apartment because I wanted to, with family of four, because I wanted to live in District 2 that used to provide really good education through high school. I support Resolution 241. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is going to be Lara, and then Sital, it will be the next. And the lady in the purple, I think, I can't tell color, sorry. Did you want to sign up? Okay, I'll put you at the end. I'll put you at the end, yeah.
Hi again. So you heard most of my story, and I think my comments were longer than 2 minutes, so I'm gonna pick up where I left off and talk a little bit more detail about what I alluded to at the end. I mentioned how I grew up and that I left Georgia to go to college and come to New York City and start a family, seemingly safe in the idea that my children would live in a place where the ideals of equity and inclusion would permeate their experiences in the city at large and in their public schools. And that complacency, that sense of safety in that idea is the very thing that has brought me here today. It is my complacency and all of our complacency in this blue city that there is no place for hate, no place for segregation and policies that bar Black and brown children who make up the large majority of children in this city, bar them from the same educational opportunities that many other children enjoy. The idea that power would never be granted to parents who seek to hoard public resources for their own children and who in turn would turn to groups that promote things like book banning, that fight against culturally representative curriculum, that quote Adolf Hitler in communications, that target transgender children, groups that fight to eliminate all discussions of sexuality in schools, and really just dismantle our public schools altogether. All, of course, encoded in the idea of parental choice. But that is precisely where we are today. As parents allied with these ways of thinking increasingly serve on our CECs, on the D2 CEC, it is incumbent on the rest of us to shake off that can't happen here complacency, to unilaterally and loudly condemn the hateful remarks and participation of District 2 CEC members in the event happening tomorrow, hosted by a national organization espousing these vile and regressive ideas, and to call on their resignation or removal from this council, which is meant to represent all of the children of District 2, not just those that are white, cisgendered, neurotypical, and attending LRO.
Thank you. The next speaker is Sital, and then Sabrina. You don't want to speak? Okay. Sabrina, and then Adriana. Welcome.
Thanks. So
So my daughter started in September the French dual language program, the pre-K on East 76th Street, and she really enjoys it. I think it's very successful. The teacher are amazing, and we see the kids. I think there's a great diversity, and it's amazing. That being said, the deadline for kindergarten application is in 2 days, and it's very unfortunate. There's no choice in District 2 for French dual language program for kindergarten through 5th grade. And I think that's very unfortunate when we compare with other districts, District 3, or comparable districts where we have many more dual language programs. So I really would like to escalate and say that it's very important for the local community. There's a lot of French speakers who would like to really keep having the kids talking to the family, and that's something we notice in also in the daycares where my youngest daughter goes, and so that's really to. I think I was there last month, and I would like to further emphasize that that would be really great to be considered.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. And then the last speaker is going to be Adriana.
Hello again. I'm here to sort of respond to the conversation that happened after the first speaking period, which is to say that the existence and safety of LGBTQ plus kids is not simply a difference of opinion. And there are LGBTQ plus children in District 2 schools, like the one you heard from earlier, just as there are LGBTQ plus children in every school district around the country and around the world, who members of this council believe are quite literally not real and described as abominations. In fact, CEC member Charles Love did the crazy hand sign while a fellow CEC member was reading that speech by a District 2 7th grade student. So I just feel like the blatant disrespect for even their own constituents is incredibly clear. And I understand that this council is not responsible for every statement made by its members, but these members are responsible for their statements. And as individuals of this council, they are subject to DOE policy. And as someone who is a part of a student government in high school, I can tell you without a doubt, if a student or teacher at my school had said anything like the comments that these CEC members have made, there would have been immediately an investigation undertaken at my school, because that is what DOE policy calls for. So last night, CEC3 put out a statement that denounced Moms for Liberty, which is the hate group that a lot of people's statements have been focusing on. And since you say that this CEC stands by the statements that it puts out, I'm calling on you to put out a similar statement.
Thank you. And that concludes the second public speaker session.
Thank you, and thank you for all the people who stayed to the end of the second public speaking session. Thank you for speaking tonight. Next item on the agenda is the vote on resolutions. I'm now going to make a motion. I would make a motion to approve resolution number 238, entitled Resolution to Oppose Mayoral Control of the New York City Department of Education. Does anyone want to second that? Gavin, second it, please. It's your resolution. Okay. So let's take a vote.
Pri Baparai? No. Allison Bowen? No. Daniela Egorov is absent. Gavin Healy? Yes. Charles Love? Charles Love is no. Maud Marin? Maud Marin is no. Sonal Patel? Sonal Patel is yes. Jessica Savage? Jessica Savage is yes. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg? Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg is yes. Sabina Serenice? Sabina Serenice is no. Leonard Silverman? Leonard Silverman is no. Greg Slutskin is a no. That means 4 yeses and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 noes. It does not pass.
I would like to make a motion to approve resolution number 239, entitled Addressing Air Quality in Schools. Will anyone second that? Okay.
Pri Baparai? Preet Bharara is yes. Allison Bowen? Allison Bowen is no. Daniela Egorov is absent. Gavin Healy? Gavin Healy is a yes. Charles Love? Charles Love is a no. Maud Marin? Maud Marin is a no. Sonal Patel? Sonal Patel is a yes. Jessica Savage? Jessica Savage is a yes. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg? Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg is a yes. Sabina Serenise? Sabina Serenise is a no. Leonard Silverman?
Yes.
Leonard Silverman is a yes, and Craig Slutskin is a yes, so that passes 7-4.
The next resolution is resolution number 240. I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 240 as amended, entitled Resolution in Support of Mayoral Control of the New York City School System and Recommendations for Enhancements of School Governance. Will anyone second? I'd like to now call for a vote.
Preet Bharara? Preet Bharara is a yes. Allison Bowen? Allison Bowen is a yes. Daniela Egorov is absent. Gavin Healy? Gavin Healy is a no. Charles Love? Charles Love is a yes. Maud Marin? Maud Marin is a yes. Sonal Patel? Sonal Patel is a no. Jessica Savage? Jessica Savage is a no. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg? Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg is a no. Sabina Serenise? Sabina Serenise is a yes. Leonard Silverman? Leonard Silverman is a yes. Craig Slutskin is a yes. It passes 7-4.
Next resolution is number 241. I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 241, entitled Resolution to Provide Geographic Priority for D2 Manhattan High School Admissions. Will anyone second that? Charles Love seconds. Let's now call for a motion. I have to call for a vote.
Preet Bharara? Preet Bharara is a yes. Allison Bowen? Allison Bowen is a yes. Daniela Egorov is absent. Gavin Healy? Gavin Healy is a no. Charles Love? Charles Love is a yes. Maud Marin? Maud Marin is a yes. Sonal Patel? Sonal Patel is an abstention. Jessica Savage? Jessica Savage is an abstention. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg? Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg is an abstention. Sabina Serenise? Sabina Serenise is a yes. Leonard Silverman? Leonard Silverman is a yes. Craig Slutskin is a yes. And it passes 7-1 to 3.
Thank you. And by the way, all the records of voting will be posted on the website along with the approved resolutions. Actually, all resolutions are posted on the website, whether or not they're approved or not. So again, members of the public want to read them, they'll be posted. They're already posted. The next item on the agenda is new business. Would anyone like to discuss any new business? Charles?
Hello. Yeah, so my new business is to announce the surprising thing that about this town hall you may not have heard of that is taking place tomorrow. And a lot of the public speaking section was on that. The president had a comment about that. And I think it's important to make a couple quick points. I don't want to be too long, but there's a lot of talk, not just today, but in a lot of our meetings, about the importance of diversity and multiculturalism and things of that nature. And, you know, as a Black man, and some would say ADOS, an American descendant of slave, or freedman, we have Black culture. And part of our culture is when challenged, we speak up and defend ourselves. So I know last month, Maud and Daniela were attacked. Maud wasn't there. Daniela didn't speak up. I don't know if Maud has something to say this time or not, but I will, because I'm not going to sit here and allow a bunch of white people to lecture me on race. It's asinine. Did you notice how they talked about the LGBT issues, but they whispered most of them when it came to CRT and diversity? Because they knew it was absurd to sit here and tell this Black man that he doesn't understand anything about race, and he, quote unquote, only cares about his other white people, because apparently I'm white. But to the LGBT issues, I don't speak for Maud or Daniela. They're adults that can defend themselves. But I like for someone to find me a quote I'm willing to offer a bounty for you to find a quote of me disparaging someone who's gay or trans. It's asinine. You haven't heard me say anything because I haven't spoken, right? So that's an issue, one. Number two, the president, our illustrious president here, not wrong, made a statement about using the title and whether we should use our titles and things of that nature, and how it should be addressed and mentioned beforehand. So I'm not going to say anything about Moms for Liberty and throw them under the bus, because it's not like what they put on the flyer was a lie. If anyone here can say I'm not an elected official on CEC, do so. So it's not like they lied. But I want to say, if you want to say that, any logical person would say I didn't make that flyer. But I want to say I would ask. There's no one next to me but Sabina and Maud, and since Maud is a hateful bigot, I asked Sabina because she's impartial. That is an email from Moms for Liberty, correct? And they asked me what?
In preparation for the town hall, Tiffany needs to obtain a few pieces of information from you. Your proper title, your bio, your headshot.
So you don't need to read it off. And my reply was title what?
Title, Charles Love, co-host of the Cut the Bull podcast, scholar at at 1776 Unites, and author of Race Crazy, BL. You want me to continue?
It doesn't matter. But what did he say about CEC?
Nothing.
So I am not using the title. I am not speaking on behalf. I can't tell Moms for Liberty what to put on the flyer, but I will say this. To the fact that several people said I'm speaking on behalf of the board, let's just clear up how insane that is. I don't speak for anyone else here. The best example is Councilmember Healy. He and I disagree on virtually everything. If I say into this microphone that I stand on the fact that it is Wednesday at 9:05 p.m., he would probably say, I don't know. I don't know about that, because he doesn't agree with me on anything. He has that right. I would never tell him not to speak. But the one thing the two of us will agree on, he openly said in an article that I don't care about black people. I openly called him a racist. Do you really think we agree on anything? But the one thing we agree on is that he would never say that I speak on his behalf. No one would ever think I do. And I would say the same about him. So if we don't speak on behalf of each other here at this table, why would any sane person think that I'm speaking on behalf of him elsewhere? Lastly, to the Moms for Liberty being a hate group. Don't know what they are. No one I've talked to has ever said anything. But I've heard the arguments. I do my own research, and I see a lot of articles saying some really bad things about these people. But you know the odd thing about those articles? They all quote other articles. I ask people, give me a quote of something racist that they said. No one can give me a quote. It's just, the southern part of the law, sir, blah, 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 blah. No, tell me what they said. If they're such open bigots, there's videos everywhere. Play them for me. Never got one. So, and a lot of the speakers talked about right wing, the last thing, right wing. And and I do think they might be right wing. I'm not even sure. But I think everyone has a right to speak. We need more speech rather than less. A lot of the people I see here come on a regular basis. Kudos to them. They should be able to come here and say what they need to say. The same thing there. The last time I checked, the bird had two wings, a left and a right wing. So why does the left wing get to speak and the right doesn't? Let them all speak. If they're wrong, go there and tell them they're wrong. But what you don't do is say, I get to speak, but you don't get to speak. That's completely insane. To say I'm not allowed to go there and speak, so I'm perpetuating hate, is that you don't even know what I'm going to say. Why don't you come there and listen instead of being a coward?
Anyone want any additional comments? Well, we're in new business, so if you have new business, you can bring it up.
So I would like to, as part of this new business, make a motion to include in the minutes a statement of this council, disavowing the hate, the anti-LGBTQ rhetoric of Moms for Liberty. And I note that the District 3 Community Education Council did a very similar thing last night. And so I do have a statement that I would like to include in the minutes. And I would like this council to basically just put it forth on their website, on their Twitter, and just, say that we support the LGBT community and we don't stand with that group. So let me read it. It says, CECD2 disavows any endorsement, affiliation, or support of Moms for Liberty. Moms for Liberty is known for espousing policies and rhetoric that are anti-LGBTQ and broadly discriminatory against a multitude of our District 2 students and families. Their views and approaches run counter to the ideals, goals, and policies of New York City Public Schools and District 2 specifically. There is no room for hate in our district.
It's called a resolution, and the public speaking sessions are specifically defined in our bylaws require that the public gets notice about resolutions, which, as you eloquently said, Lynn, are what our council stands for. And there's a process that has to go through, which is notice, which requires notice, and requires public speaking sessions and a public vote after those public speaking sessions.
It's a point of order, so it's procedural.
I agree 100% with what you're saying. I don't know what happened in District 3. Quite frankly, I don't really care that much about what happened in District 3. What I really do care about is whether we're following proper procedures here. I do understand that you're making a motion, but again, you're basically asking the council to vote on something where there has not been public comment and to vote on something where there's been no prior notice given. So, and not in the form of something that's presented, either a prior letter that was presented, anything that was posted on the website, or anything that was brought up beforehand. So, I think this would be improper to go ahead with a motion here.
So to speak to the procedural matters, Article 8 of our bylaws provide that if, things that are not, included, provided in our bylaws, are governed by Robert's Rules of Order. And Robert's Rules of Order 48.3 provides that a member of a body can make a motion to include a statement in the minutes. And so that's what I'm doing under Robert's Rules of Order and under the bylaws. So I think we can make the motion and then we can have a second and we can vote on it.
Thank you. I should also point out that we have a number of speakers here today who have asked this council to do exactly this. If you look and have been reading the chats, there are a number of members of our community that have asked the council to make a statement announcing Moms for Liberty and making very clear that this council has no affiliation with, nor does this council endorse an organization that is discriminatory against a multitude of our students, that operates with hate and fear. And Charles, well and good what you said, and I appreciate your comments. The community deserves to know what this council stands for with respect to Moms for Liberty. 2 of our council members have made a decision to speak. They have been identified nationally as affiliated with this council. It is not unreasonable for any single parent in this community to feel threatened by that. Or, let me take the word threatened back before somebody gets on me about that. To feel that they are not being represented. That a voice at Moms for Liberty of a member on this council is not what this council stands for as a community group of people that speak for, that are meant to protect all of the students here. So, we can talk procedure, we can talk all of the things. And Rod and Charles are going to do what they're going to do, and they're going to say what they're going to say tomorrow. I hope that they qualify, that they are not speaking for this council. But again, I cannot speak for them. I hear you, Charles, and I hope you will do the same thing tomorrow. I don't plan to argue with you respect to your comments that you do not.
You're gonna keep the argument you want. So yes, I don't need my fault. I don't need to clarify anything.
Okay. Tomorrow at the Moms for Liberty event, I have enough talks, I have no intention of being in that room. I kind of want to say I'm still speaking, but it's obvious that I'm still speaking because my mouth is moving and words are coming out of my mouth. Are we done? Can I continue?
Okay. Okay.
So as I was saying, I think this community would like this council, whether it's individually or as a council, whether we do it by vote or resolution or by statement in the minutes on our website or on Twitter, I think it's important for the District 2 community to know where this council stands on Moms for Liberty. Plain and simple.
Okay, there was a discussion, the words that were used before was seeing the forest for the trees. I think Gavin had mentioned that phrase. You talk about protecting the students. The procedures and policies and the bylaws are there to protect all of us and to make sure the proper procedures are followed, whether you agree with them or not. They're there if you wanted to make a motion or add a resolution, you should have done it before, and it should have been presented and beforehand. So I do not agree that this is the appropriate time to make this resolution. I understand what you're attempting to do. I get it, but it's not proper. It's not proper, and I don't think putting people in a position to vote on something that's not properly presented. There was no consultation. It wasn't previously presented for any public comment. And I agree. It's an end run around. If you want to make a resolution condemning Moms for Liberty or any other organization, please feel free to do so, and you can present it at the. You could have done it beforehand. You could have provided that resolution before this meeting. So I don't think it's fair. I don't know what happened in other districts. I'm not going to concern myself with that. And I don't think it's appropriate to vote on a motion when it's not proper. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Can I make a comment? I'm going to make a comment as I believe, you never know, but I believe as the only member of the LGBTQ community on this council. Okay? I believe that's the case. I don't know that, but I think I'm the only out man here. I don't know. I don't know. You never know. Okay? First of all, what you just passed out, what Councilman Hill was typed. It was printed. It was planned. He had every opportunity at the beginning of the meeting to at least hand this out to the council, and he did not. So this, whatever it is, was completely planned. I am insulted personally as a gay man, as a proud gay man, that some end run around public input. Yes, a lot of people spoke out tonight, and a lot of people spoke out in the chat, but a lot of people spoke the opposite direction, and a lot of people did not have the opportunity to speak because they didn't know you were going to present this. You knew. You knew that because you printed this out. There is no printer on this dais. I am also going to say that as a Jew, I am personally insulted about the hypocrisy because last 2 months ago, I think it was 2 months ago, several members of this council refused to stand up to protect Jewish students. Those same people are now talking about protecting LGBT students, but they did not protect Jewish students. And they voted against or abstained, which is essentially a vote against the protection, a resolution protecting Jewish students. So I am personally insulted as a gay man, and please, nobody in this council should speak for the gay community, because you are not a member of the LGBTQ community. I am. Nobody speaks for me on gay issues and the way I feel about it. And I'm very insulted about the hypocrisy of showing all of this concern, but only when you feel like it, when it's convenient. Unless it's, of course, anti-Semitism, but I'm not going to get into that.
Okay, Gavin, there's a motion. Okay, look, I get, as the chair, there's a motion, we're gonna vote on it. Motion to adjourn, all in favor? Aye, all opposed? Abstentions? All right, the motion passes. If you wish to bring something, please, present it properly. Next is our January 2024 working business meeting. Would anyone like to take a break? You want to go right into it?
We don't have a lot of time.
Okay, so let's go right into it. Roll call, Maud, before you leave. Okay, stay for the roll call, please. Okay.
Okay. Preet Bhatt, Allison Bowen, Daniela Egorov, oh, absent, sorry, Gavin Healy, Charles Love, Maud Marin, Sonal Patel, Jessica Savage, Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg, Sabina Serenise, Leonard Silverman, Craig Slutsman is here. We have a quorum.
We were all able to agree that we were here. So we're making some progress. Update, next item on the working business meeting, update process to appoint student appointee. We've already done that. He's like, no, he gave me the update already. He gave me the update. Treasurer's report.
This is important.
What are we doing?
Treasurer.
Oh, yes, so I printed, updated the budget that I am going to distribute here. Maybe we can share copies because I printed out at home. Craig brought up a good point, about changing for the Zoom, the website. Zoom is covered by the DOE now, but email, like constant contact, the cost. So we increased from 1,000, the budget allocated to technology, to 3,100, which there is a breakdown of individually what those costs would be. And we had to, unfortunately, take it out of member expenses to be able to allow for the technology software that is going to be used at our meetings. And everything else stays the same.
Just to be clear, this is for Wix and which is the website, Constant Contact, which is how we communicate,
Yes.
and our email addresses, which you guys know before.
Which makes sense.
The only suggestion I would make on this, and I think that it is helpful to have business cards as members of the council. It is helpful to have business cards. We've had them in the past. It's good to hand out when you go to schools for people if you have to give them your information really quickly. And I really would like to see something allocated for business cards if we could do that.
They were taken away during the pandemic.
They last forever if you should do, if you're gonna, I have a whole stack of them, but I would encourage there to be a line item for that. And if we can we'll work with Victor to make sure we can get those cards quickly so that we can have them for distribution. But it's a very helpful to have a business card, it really is.
Yeah, how much would you put in?
About
500 makes sense, yeah. It used, so we would figure out from perhaps, because I think with equipment, you already put in, that equipment has, from the 1,500 in equipment, we can make that to 1,000 because we've already bought a lot of equipment, perhaps.
He hasn't been reimbursed.
Well, okay, very well.
Our president is owed a lot of money.
Yes, he is. They've been spending a lot of money out of pocket. Yeah, that makes sense.
Just so it's clear, yes. If you're really gonna use them, get them.
All right, so we'll let whoever needs them, let Victor know if you need them for the upcoming year. If you don't, then we keep it as it is. Okay. All right, thank you. And everything else is things. And does anybody else have any suggestions that she should change? I think this would probably be the last one, the last budget before. It's the last one, so if anyone has any comments,
I think
speak now or forever hold your peace.
I think one thing that would be helpful, I don't know if all of us know how much is in our allowance. Like, I don't know if, I don't know how much and I think the president gets a little bit more.
Yes, 200.
Yeah, so you don't have to do it now, but at some point, if you could let us know within this comprehensive budget, what each of us.
Yeah, I would also let members know that you are entitled to reimbursement for internet expenses for each month, up to, I think it's $45. I'm not sure. I have to check.
It's 160 per month allocated per member.
No, but you can, but there's a certain limitation on how much you can put down for like internet.
Okay.
And the childcare, exactly.
Okay, I mean, the total would be 160, so there might be a breakdown.
Yeah.
I'll get that number for you. Make a motion to approve the proposed budget as amended.
Me, I would.
Let's do a roll call.
Okay.
Yep, Tree Bumper, aye. Yes, Allison Bowen. Yes, Danielle Agarov is absent. Gavin Healy. Charles Love. Yes, Ahmad Marin. Sonal Patel. Abstain. Jessica Savage. Yes, Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg. Yes, Sabina Serenise. Yes, Leonard Silverman. Yes, and Craig Slutskin is a yes, so that is 9-2. 902. It passes. Okay.
Thank you for your work on that. We did get a notification from FACE that if you do have, or you are seeking reimbursement, to try to put it in. Again, I'll get the forms out to people. Next item is the bylaw proposal. We put this over from last time on certain issues. We voted on some. I thought I saw on a prior working business meeting agenda, the 210 issue was mentioned. Oh, okay. So what bylaw proposals remain?
It was the addition of 210, the local language at the end of the 210.
Okay, do we want to discuss that now, or do we want to just table it for next? Okay, so let's have a discussion. Let's have a discussion. So.
Wait, it's on wait.
I mean, we can table this until the end of this term if we want to, but it's clear from what happened tonight that this council does not know how to abide by a code of conduct. Either they don't have one that they think that we abide to, or they just choose to ignore it. I propose this as a simple addition to conform to Chancellor's Reg D210. I'm assuming that the due process objections are no longer in play, since now there is a equity council that is about to be announced, that the purpose of this amendment was to put into our bylaws a code of conduct, period, plain and simple.
The only comment I'm going to make is we're subject to D210 no matter what. So I don't see why putting it in the bylaws is necessary. And if D210 is ever changed and we're now going to be subject to D211 or D5000, then we'd have to revisit it anyway. We're subject to a lot of different regulations and rules. I don't necessarily know why we have to actually say in here we're subject to something that we're already subject to. I mean, thank you.
Yeah, and again, we've had discussions in the past in other bylaw meetings on specific language, some of which we agreed on, some of which we didn't agree on, but we never did the changes. I agree. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's just self-evident, and I don't think it's necessary to include. But so, would you like to make a motion to amend the bylaws to include the language that? Or speak.
Sorry.
And I can make the motion as a formality, just to get this off the agenda. We know it's not going to pass, so I will make a motion to then amend the bylaws to include a code of conduct. I make a motion to amend our bylaws to include a code of conduct. Yes, amend per the actual language that is in front of all of us right now.
I second the motion.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. We'd have to have we'd have to have the actual change presented, like actual, where is it? Where, show it to me. Show it to me.
Hold on, let me see what this is.
Give me 1 second, because I just want to, Craig's gonna pull out the copy. Yeah, we'll do the vote, that's fine. Okay, let's do a roll call vote. The motion's out there.
And just to be clear, Councilmember Patel made the motion, that's it.
So it's Article 10, include Article 10, correct? Okay, so
Okay, so that was Councilmember Patel and then seconded by Councilmember Healy.
yeah, so no, that's what I needed.
Okay.
What we're talking about.
Pre-Poperai, Allison Bowen. Sorry, pre-Poperai was abstention. Allison Bowen is a no. Daniela Egoroff is absent. Gavin Healy? Gavin Healy is a yes. Charles Love? Charles Love is a no. Maud Marin? Maud Marin is a no. Sonal Patel? Sonal Patel is a yes. Jessica Savage? Jessica Savage is a yes. Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg? Sarah Schechter Ehrenberg is a yes. Sabina Serenise? Sabina Serenise is a no. Leonard Silverman? Leonard Silverman is a no. Craig Slutskin is a no. So it fails 4 to 6 to 1.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is location for meetings 2023, 2024. Next meeting.
So we talked about different locations last time and we sort of set a schedule. Victor's been hard at work trying to get those places. Some things are available, some things are not. So that just, we don't have answers today for everything, but it is a little bit in flux, but we'll communicate with everybody just to make sure, and we're trying to make sure everything is accessible and we're not always uptown, we're always downtown, but we're working on it.
I wanted to actually ask Maud a question, because nothing wrong. No, nothing wrong, just because I wanted clarification. My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I've been known to be wrong plenty of times. I thought that the February meeting was going to be our forum with the chancellor, not a separate individual meeting. Do you remember how it was done in the past?
CECD2 in the past has combined the town hall and our town meeting and our convention meeting. I personally support doing that.
Yes.
The chancellor's meeting lasts for 1 hour. And so it takes up one additional day out of your month, whereas if you separate them, it's 2 additional days, 2 additional classes, 2 additional. Chancellor's meeting, literally a minute, 59 and a half. So our meeting is literally 1 hour longer, but it can all be done.
Yeah, so right now, I think the website posted February 25th. So let's take that off.
Can I just ask one logistical question on that? So this is just different times. Do we know, and maybe Victor can find out, otherwise we have to set it up and break for half an hour afterwards. Can learning times stay? Because otherwise we have to set up all the AV, and as you know, that takes a little bit of time. And that's fine, and we can break for a half an hour while we do it. We'll set up. But if it's possible that the DOE will give us in their largesse learning times for the rest of the night, because they're there anyway, that would be ideal, if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah, I don't think they will either, but.
Yeah, I don't want to pay us. I don't want to. Right.
What might be better is if we set up our own meeting beforehand.
That's fine.
Okay, so it looks like our February meeting is going to be at 100 Hester Street. So, okay, I'm sorry, what?
We'll have to be up by 10 no matter what.
Yeah, so.
Wherever we are.
And that's right, that's how we have done in the past. So we're just gonna we're gonna go right into the meeting right afterwards. And we'll actually should have a fairly decent audience there, hopefully. Okay. So that's our next meeting. And then the next one after that, we'll then revert back to the district office.
I think, I don't remember because it's taken some days, so we're working on it.
Okay, all right. Next, discussion of February Chancellor's Town Hall meeting. We still have to get together. Just since we have everybody here, is there any consensus on how you want to do questions? I mean, we could do it, I want to do it in the fairest method that's possible. We were told by Face at the meeting that was attended by some of us that he estimates we'll get to 10 questions. I think that's extremely optimistic. I think when we did it, that he must have gotten to maybe 7 questions, if he talks and questions from the council. I don't think there's going to be time for questions from the community. I'd like to have a question, maybe one question, but I can't reconcile how we're going to pick that question. Yeah. We could do that. Does that work for everyone? Okay, we'll set that up. And try to pick different areas. We'll work out different questions from different areas. Okay, things are moving quite well. Okay, school liaison updates. Anyone? Okay, committee updates. We already had them. New business.
I have 3.
Craig and everybody for making it more accessible. We were able to have an ASL interpreter in case people wanted to come onto the Zoom call, and we'll continue to do that. That no one showed, so the interpreter left. We didn't get a hit on the interpreter usage, so thank you very much for making that happen.
So I have 3 things which I think are quick and hopefully not confrontational. We did get an email from the Office of Food and Nutrition Services. They are changing their menus. They would like to present to our CEC. So does anybody have any interest in, do we want to hear that? They want to come and see us.
They do present pictures. I've seen that presentation. They don't put samples, but they show pictures.
Do we want to say it or not? Because I would like to respond to them.
I don't have it.
That's fine.
We talk a lot about that.
That's fine with me. So number 2 is, we got an email, and I think they might have sent this to everybody, or maybe they just sent it to the main address, that the New York City, the Public Schools Office of School Wellness has an advisory council, and they're looking for 1 person from each CEC to be part of it. And it is, I'm going to pull it up. They're exploring parents and caregiver expectations for wellness-related instruction and programs that can create student environments where all of our students have opportunities to feel healthy, valued, and empowered. And they were looking for a CEC member from each CEC. I personally, not to put it on somebody, but it sort of relates to your committee, Jessica. So I thought that you might be the logical person. Is that okay? Okay, and they were looking for an alternate. Does anybody want to be her alternate? Okay, great. That's easy. See, we can get through this. The third thing is, one thing I would like to propose is, one of the things we're discussing, and we're going to be hearing about more and more as it gets rolled out, is the rollout of Wit and Wisdom as the literacy curriculum. I think that there are a lot of parents who are afraid. It's something different, it's something new. I would like to propose forming either a literacy committee or a literacy subcommittee within the academics committee. I did speak to Council Member Bowen, and she thought that it would be separate. It would be, the goals would be a little bit different than what's actually in the academics committee now. So I think it's important. I think this will be more informational gathering as opposed to us giving opinions on things. But there are a lot of families that I'm getting a lot of questions because my son's school is going through it now. I would suggest myself, given that I'm living it now, as the chair, but I would welcome anybody who's interested to be on the committee, or at least to show up at a committee meeting. It doesn't matter if you're on the committee or not.
Create a literacy committee, Wit and Wisdom.
And it could be a committee or it could be a subcommittee. That's fine. And I think it doesn't, I think it's separate from.
Can we agree on what we want it to be named?
The Len Silverman?
No. The Wit and Wisdom?
Wit and Wisdom Committee.
Okay, so we'll create the Wit and Wisdom Committee, and I'll appoint Craig chair. Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, any other new business? Okay, motion to adjourn. All in favor? Motion adjourned. If the interpreters will come up, we'll take care of your paperwork. Thank you.